died in that battle, and they cut their heads off and hung them on the wall of the city. And I actually got to go to that hell. Can't remember the name of it now, but where that all happened, when I was over in Israel. So and I had learned about that before I went, so it was really good. But Amalek, interestingly enough, um, was a grandson of Esau. Um, and so it's not a genetic thing, I don't believe, but there's something there that causes people to do what they do. Um, so anyway, if you read the story in Esther, uh, God, I think, had a hand in it, and Esther was a Jewish girl who ended up the uh, in the court of King Xerxes the First of Persia. Persia, by the way, if you don't know that, I hope most everybody knows that, is what we call today Iran. Only in the days of Xerxes, it was the area from India to Ethiopia. And a guy by the name of Haman, who was a relative of King Agag and um, was uh, related to that uh, family that God hated. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I don't know how else to say when he told them to kill every man, woman, and child and all their animals. It's hard to imagine that God would do such a thing, but he knew more than we'll ever know about what those people were like and why he said to do that. But um, anyway, that's in the story of Esther. If you want to look for it, you'll see it. Um, it was interesting to me as I was putting this together. I really hadn't made the connection between Amalek and Esau, and uh, um, so I just wonder what makes people evil from birth. There's several examples in the Bible. The one I want to talk about today is Esau, the hairy one, that's what that means, or the red is another, and his descendants. If you look at Genesis 25:19 through 30, you can read about that family um, and what went on there and why they're connected with all this. I won't try to get into all that today, but there were two sons that were born, and one was named Jacob and one was named Esau. Of course, we know who Jacob is and how he ended up. Esau sold his birthright for a bowl of soup. So he's that should have been a hint, I guess, to what his personality was like. But uh, verse 22, if you look there, the children Jacob and Esau, the children struggled in the womb of their mother, and once they were delivered, they were twins, of course, and they were delivered at the same time, and they were uh, in conflict with each other throughout their whole lives. Uh, Somehow God knew the character of these boys before they were born. He knew that Jacob would be a stronger nation than Esau, with all the potential diversity in the genetic code. Not even twins are truly identical. So how could he know that, except that he's God, and we know that. They have different fingerprints, and they can be identified by differences in their eyes that identical twins can. So God knows a lot more about us than we could ever imagine. So now let's look at Romans 9, verse 13. Not necessarily, you might not necessarily think there's much in the New Testament about this, but there is. Um, let's see. God knew before they were born what they would be. And Romans 9 talks about that, makes it clear that God loved Jacob and hated Esau. It's hard to, get your head around that when you hear that hard language, that God could hate anybody, but it does say it, and he hated them for a reason, because he knew they had a flaw that was problematic. And there's another place I'd like to take you to, and that's in Malachi, the first chapter, verses in the first chapter of Malachi, verses 4 and 5. Edom, descendant of Esau, shall be called the territory of wickedness. The territory of Edom is territory of wickedness. And the Lord will have indignation forever. Forever is a long time. God never forgets things like this, And I think I failed to really explain what happened. I need to back up and explain what happened when the children of Israel were coming out of Egypt. They tried everything to get permission from Amalek to cross their land, and they would not give the permission. So Moses put all his strong men and his fighters in the front of the column, put all the women and children and the feeble people in the back, thinking they would be protected by the strong ones in front. And Amalek attacked the weak ones in the back rather than the strong ones in the front. That's not something that God liked. That's the way I put it. So anyway, let's see. Get back to where my notes are here. It's God's choice to show his power so that his name may be declared in all the earth. God has made everything, even the wicked, for a purpose. Look at Proverbs 16, verse 4 and 5. That's where it talks about the grandson of Esau. His name was Amalek, and I just explained it to you about that. Let's see. In Exodus 17, 8 through 16, take a look at verses 13 through 16. God says he will blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, but we'll have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Guess whose descendants are descendants of Amalek? I wrote this group. Probably it's a little wrong to look at that way. I'm not sure. But if you look back, it would seem that way. The Arabs, who were, the 6-day war, the Arabs attacked Israel and they beat them in 6 days. Israel won the war in 6 days, and so they had no. They were outgunned, as Israel was, but they had God on their side, and that made a big difference. But you had the Philistines, which is what we call the Palestinians today, I believe, the Amorites, and Jordanians. Even back then, in the 6-day war, Israel was completely surrounded by Arab or countries that hated Israel, and some of them still do. They call us the big Satan and Israel the little Satan. And I hope that all the peace talks that are going on today will have better results than those that have gone on before. But I'm not holding my breath to see how that goes. It will be a temporary thing at best. Moabites and Edomites, all those people are part of the relatives of Amalek. Let's look at Deuteronomy 25:17 through 19 now. That's what I briefly mentioned a while ago. Amalek lost the battle, but still attacked the rear of the people and killed all the women. Well, I don't know if they killed all of them. They killed a lot of women and children from the column of the children of Israel. And when Israel has rest from her enemies at Christ's second coming, then they will blot out the remembrance of Amalek. Until then, I think, because it's in the book, we'll know that their memory of him won't be blotted out until Christ returns again. And God used Samuel, 1 Samuel 15:1 through 33. I'm not going to read all that, but just want to tell you about what happened there. God used Samuel to tell Saul to punish Amalek for how they had ambushed Israel when they were leaving Egypt. And Saul was condemned for not obeying God. And Samuel did his work for him. And the first time I read this, I thought, boy, that's some kind of prophet, Samuel took the sword from Saul, who he knew was supposed to kill Amalek, and Agag, the king of the Amalekites, and Samuel chopped him to pieces. That's some kind of priest, isn't it? But he knew what he had to do, and the main thing I think that makes God mad is they were killing children. You think about how many times they've strapped bombs on children in the Middle East, got on buses and killed people. They're doing the same sort of thing, and they're going to pay a terrible price for it someday. They may get a little reprieve with this effort for peace, but I don't believe that it's going to last. As hard as our leaders try to get peace in the Middle East, they are not likely to achieve their goal. I just don't. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe the nature of the people are such that they'll eventually go back to their old ways. So in conclusion, I submit that the spirit, if not the seed of Amalek, it still exists today. The descendants of Esau, and they continue to fight with Israel up to this very day. Maybe today it'll all end. I hope so, but it'll end for a while anyway. But one day, soon, I believe, Christ will return and put a stop to all this terror, just as he has promised. And the spirit of Amalek will not be remembered anymore. We can be sons and daughters of the living God, adopted children, redeemed by our elder brother, Jesus Christ.